Good afternoon, everyone. In the interest of everyone's time, we want to get started. Allow me to first introduce myself. I'm Meg Disler. I'm the director of the St. Joe Community Health Foundation. The St. Joe Community Health Foundation is a ministry of the Poor Handmaids of Jesus Christ, and we've had the opportunity to be working in this community with the Poor Handmaid Ministry since 1868. The sisters first came from Germany to help immigrants. Today, we continue that working with our partners in the community to serve refugees, immigrants, as one of our 4 impact areas. Out of that discussion, we have found some wonderful partners in this community, and so we have this collaboration that you see today. We are starting, this is an inaugural program of a collaboration between the 4 agencies. You'll see us at the bottom: Amani Family Services, Catholic Charities, International House, and the St. Joe Community Health Foundation. And quarterly, we'll be offering free programming on issues impacting the local community and immigration, so that everybody can come together and welcome into our community immigrants, refugees. How do we strengthen our community with their gifts? We're going to start today. I'm going to turn over to our first part of it. You should all have a copy of the agenda in front of you. And I will tell you that we will be doing Q&A, questions and answers, at each session at the end. So feel free to bring your questions and anything you want to know about refugee resettlement in Fort Wayne. We hope to try to answer between now and 5 o'clock. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Meg. My name is Evelina Connolly, and I serve as the Chief Executive Officer of Amani Family Services. I would like to extend my gratitude to Meg and St. Joe Community Health Foundation for creating such a meaningful platform for us. I would also like to thank our friends and partners, Catholic Charities and International House, for coming together and collaborating on this event. As well as all of our guests here today, thank you for supporting this important conversation. Our organizations have been serving our multicultural community for many years, and we understand firsthand the complexity of issues related to immigration. We truly hope to use this quarterly platform to share our experience and bring some clarity, tools, and skills to help you navigate your daily work as well. For decades, our community has welcomed thousands of newcomers, and we have been so lucky to learn and grow from each and every one of their journeys. Today, I have the distinct pleasure to introduce to you our guest speaker and a dear colleague, Soman U, who will share with us his journey of building a new life here in Fort Wayne. Soman U arrived in Fort Wayne through the Catholic Charities Resettlement Program in 2008 after spending a decade in a refugee camp on the Thai-Burma border. Today, he's raising his family and earning his MBA. Soman works as an operations manager for Kroger. He's also the secretary for the Burmese Muslim Education and Community Center. It is through his volunteer position that he helps and keeps up with a variety of local programs and facilitates many interfaith partnerships and community initiatives. Because of his unique community connections, Soman was the driving force behind Associated Churches receiving the Bridge Builder Award in 2019. He has also been instrumental in establishing the first Muslim cemetery in Fort Wayne. Please welcome to the stage Soman U. We're so grateful to you to share the story.
Thank you very much for all the kind words and such a nice introductions. My name is Sominu. I've been shared my story several times, and it doesn't get easier. I was born in Burma, a country that ravaged by the conflict and ongoing civil war. Due to the instability and insecurity in my homeland, our family never has a stable place to live. We always have to move one place to another. The last time when we were in Burma, we lived in Karen State. For several years, a village, it is nested by the very beautiful alley for several years, and most of the villagers are farmers, live off of the lands and help one another, and the life is very simple, peaceful, and calm. And the villagers were very happy with the way of the simple life. But that didn't last very long. In 1997, in January, the Burmese military government attacked our village. They bombed our village. The sounds of the gunfires, the explosion, the people screaming in the blood is echoing all over the village. The villagers were terrified, and we know we have to flee before the violence reach to our doorstep. With nothing but clothes on our back, we left the village on foot, hoping to find a safety nearby a safe place. We walked for days, hiding in the forest, sleeping under the stars, looking over our shoulder for dangers. The days were hot and long. The nights were cold and dark, but we were determined to survive. When we arrived to refugee camp in Thai-Burma border after walking for weeks, and there wasn't any camp, so we built that camp, and I was 11 years old at that time. Can you imagine what it's been like for 11 years old? Here in the United States, it is what? Elementary school? Maybe going to school, having fun with your parents, or playing game in the iPad, right? We were fighting for survivor at age of 11 years old. Just not me, there's thousands of kids. When the Burmese military government destroyed our village, they killed thousands and thousands of innocent people, including elder, children, and pregnant women, for no reason. So the camp were overcrowded. We have to help one another to gather food and water. And our shelters are made with trampolines and bamboo. And I spent over 11 years in that refugee camp. I witnessed thousands of people die from the preventable disease and illness. In 2006, 2007, 2008, that time, United States accept waves and waves of refugees from that area, from Thai-Burma border. There where I decided to come, our family decided to come to the United States through Catholic Charities Refugee Resettlement Program. Upon arriving to the United States, and Catholic Charities and help us all our necessity, housing, food, clothing, and we are enrolled in the English learning class. They help us finding jobs, and thank you so much for Catholic Charities, all your services. At the beginning, it is difficult. With the language barrier, financial hardship, try to fit in a new society that you don't know anything about. Very challenging at the beginning, but I was determined to succeed. work hard. I go back to school. As I said in the introductions, I'm working on my MBA. I'm currently operation managers. I'm also involved in the many community engagements, and we have an organization called Burmese Muslim Education and Community Center. Through that organization, we have built the first mosque that built by the Burmese refugee and immigrant, the biggest mosque in northeast Indiana. So we did that. After working so hard, we are able to adjust our life here in the United States. Not just me, many of our community members have go through all these challenges and struggle, but now we have many success stories as well. We have several business owners, restaurants, beauty salon, auto shop, and one of the things that we are really proud as a community is we see the increasing number of our community members are in the military, try to give it back to this country that we call our new home. Through the refugee, my time in the refugee camp in Burma and during war zone, I learned that no matter how difficult your journey is, there is always a way forward, always a glimmer of light in the darkness. So I encourage all of you to hold on to your hope and your dream. Never give up, no matter how difficult your journey may be. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing this story, Selwyn. Do we have any questions from the audience at this point? Yes.
What is one hope you have now for support for your community?
One thing that we are really working on is to try to bring the community together. Through our center, we have a center on the southeast of Fort Wayne. My hope is to bring the community together. It doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what religions or what belief you have, we are all human beings. And we share this lovely city, Fort Wayne, as our home. We need to come the community member as one. So we have several events, including fundraisers. That is one thing that we are working on, to hope that bringing people together to make the place that we call home better. That's one of our community member hope, including myself. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Currently, the military is killing people at will throughout Burma, and Russia and China support the military. What are some things that we can do here for
Brother Nyechan probably can answer that better, but we need voice. If you watch media, you can hear Ukraine, you can hear other countries, but in the media, people, cover Burma situation barely. So we need more voice. One thing that you can do is to share the voice, learn what happened in Burma, and share their voice. We need the international support. Yes, China and Russia is behind the military, the Burmese military, but the people of Burma, the only thing they have is hoping for the international community to help. So one thing that we can do is to share the voice, to share the knowledge that you have. Thank you.
Yes.
So what is one thing that people here in the community could do to make that community feeling better, to help people resettle here and so forth? One thing that just everyday people could do.
I'm happy to chime in on this one. You have a wonderful set of agencies who are coming together to put on this event and to educate the community, and also to bring, to shed light on these important issues. I think supporting all of these agencies and their work and allowing them to do what they do best, And as you will learn later in the program, we work together very well. We each have our areas of specialty, and we have a beautiful way to come together and support each other. But truly understanding what is the work that is being done here and how you can tangibly support that.
Hi, I would just like to know, what can we do? I live in Tria Ridge, and we have a lot of Burmese families that moved in. And I was told that there were like 5 different languages. They all speak different languages, and we just want to try to welcome them in and learn their culture and try to help them with ours, because I know these things are different. What can we do? Who can we speak with? I called Catholic Charities and left messages 5, 10, 15 times. Did not receive one phone call back. And we just want to know what we can do to try to reach our neighbors, you know, so like he said, we can be one community, because we've had probably about 25% that's moved in lately, and they've been Burma families. And I just want to know what we can do to try to befriend them, because I can't speak the language, but just to try to welcome them and find out from them and them from us.
I will say that there are many wonderful cultural events happening in a community, and one thing that you could do that's very tangible is really come to those events, and through those events you have the opportunity to really get to know their cultures and their customs. And I know Salman can share more specifically about the Burmese Muslim Education Community Center and what they do in terms of programming and how you could get involved.
I think to work together, to love one another, the very first step is we need to know each other, right? We need to know our neighbors. I mean, every religious teach us to love our neighbors. And if we don't know them, we cannot love them. So the first step is to know our neighbors. I mean, it is not Catholic Charity responsible what happened in our community. Yes, they help us the beginning when we arrived to the United States. They have done a lot, but they are not responsible for 10 years down the road and 5 years down the road. But we have several community centers that you can visit. Invite us to your community. If you have any events, invite us. We will be there. And come to our mosques and having those conversations and understanding one another. I think we can achieve that.
Thank you. We may have time for one more question.
My question is regarding the mosque and support for Muslims who are coming into the community. There are a lot of Afghans in the community that are exclusively Muslim. They didn't come in as Christians, they didn't come in as Buddhists, but the mosques have not connected very well with them. And this is Ramadan Kareem. And if you're having iftar, or if you're doing things during the month of Ramadan, it would be awesome if you could make that known to the Afghan community, that they could participate in some of your gatherings.
It is probably lack of our connections. At our mosques, we offer daily iftar. Everybody is welcome. Everybody is welcome to come to us at the mosques around 8, and we are gatherings and share our food together. It's all free. Anyone is welcome. If you have a connection with the Afghan refugees, please let them know. Not just only in our mosques, in the Burmese community, we also have UEF on the Goshen Road. We have Islamic Center of Fort Wayne right across from Indiana Tech. They have daily iftar every day. We also have 2 events that happen in this month. The first one is April 9th, that hosted by the Burmese community. If the gathering at the Fort Wayne Purdue University from 6:30 to 9, and we also have another event Friday on April 14, hosted by another mosque at the university Purdue University. You are more than welcome to attend those events to learn more about the community, more about the religions. Thank you.
Thank you, friends. Just a reminder, we will have more opportunities for questions and answers right after our panel and throughout this presentation as well. So hold on to your thoughts. You will have the opportunity to ask the question. Also, to answer your question, this is the very reason why we're so excited about these quarterly meetings. This is a way to open conversation so that we can get to know each other and trust each other and engage together. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I now have the privilege of introducing Desiree Koger-Gustafsson. She is a senior immigration attorney at Immigration for Couples, where they focus on reuniting and holistically serving families. She manages a full caseload of over 150 family-based immigration clients. That's a lot. She is also a wife and a mother of 4 young men. And if that isn't enough, she's also a fitness instructor and serves on the adjunct faculty of IU School of Health. She holds numerous degrees in law and public health and has contributed to our community in many, many roles as a professor at Trine, Purdue, Fort Wayne, Indiana Tech, and has served as the chief deputy clerk of the Allen County Circuit and Superior Court. And for 7 years, she directed the Fort Wayne office of the Neighborhood Christian Legal Clinic. She's also one of my bosses. She serves as a volunteer on the board of the St. Joe Community Health Foundation. I think she would say most importantly, she is inspired by her Christian faith and committed to coming alongside her clients to help them narrowly tailor an immigration plan that benefits and best fits their family needs and future plans, and to build a new life here in America. Desiree, enlighten us some more.
Thank you so much for having me. What a hard person to follow with Soman and his story. It is so important when people can share because, you know, being born and raised in the U.S., I'm not going to be able to relate to that. And the more times we can hear these stories, we're able to identify ways to connect with people. So I really appreciate that. And thank you for having me. I kind of feel like this is a homecoming, a bit of a sort. As Meg said, thank you for that nice introduction. I got my start really working with refugees and asylees for a decade, right out of law school. I felt the calling to do that, and it served my heart well to be able to invest in our community in that way. And boy, I was so blessed by that decision because getting to know them and being able to walk alongside them in their journeys was just amazing. So yeah, I've kind of moved into doing immigration law full time. And so when I always get a chuckle, and those of you who are at all practitioners in this area and Catholic Charities will identify with this as well, when people ask me to come talk about the legal statuses of immigrants and refugees and people who are here and what all of those things mean, and then to do it in 15 minutes, I'm just like, it makes me chuckle because literally it is an alphabet soup at this point. We have PIP, we have the newly established SIV, we have HP, we have TPS. I mean, the list goes on. So know that there are lots of different types of status. They may allow them a temporary stay in the U.S. Some those may not confer any actual legal status that has any permanency at all. So I guess my first initial advice would be always go speak to somebody who kind of knows what they're talking about so you can come up with a plan that would allow long-term stay, allow them to provide for their families. Not all of those statuses that I had spoken about, the alphabet soup, if you would, not all of those allow for working. Not all of those allow for anything other than that temporary entry into the U.S. And we've had a lot of those developments. And many of those have been within the last couple of years. We've mentioned the Afghanis and refugees of that nature. That was quite different. A lot of different waivers, waiver of medical examinations. Just get here safe, and then we'll figure it out. That's pretty much what happened. And the status that they had was very temporary. So I guess my first overarching is just, connect with somebody. There are people with Catholic Charities. There are lots of different agencies doing this type of work, volunteering time, that would love to sit down and just kind of talk through what a plan looks like and to get some type of status that allows them to move on to get a green card and be able to travel, to get work authorization, to be able to work and provide for their families in the U.S. And then eventually, if they so desire that, to get naturalized and become a citizen. If you've not attended a naturalization ceremony, if you've connected with anybody in here that is maybe walking through that path and you've realized that they're, maybe going through that ceremony, I would encourage you to go, because it is something we take for granted. And boy, it's powerful. So in general, there are a lot of statuses out there. Some of those are just a deferred status that make people not be able to be deported, not be able to be removed. They have lawful entry. They're allowed to be here, but wanting to work towards something that gives them that green card, that stability, to kind of move forward. That the refugee and asylee status, that is one that's a little more clear cut. A lot of the refugees basically are applying for that credible fear, that initial hurdle. They're applying for that outside of the country, usually to UNHCR, so they get some type of a determination that allows them then to enter. Sometimes that's US, sometimes that's other countries, but that's a designation outside. And then you have the asylee status, where people are kind of applying for that status inside the United States. And there's a couple of different ways that they go about that. And obviously, this has been on the national stage many times, immigration law in particular. And we keep having all these different statuses and things that we try to fit to kind of world happenings. And those all have to be funded. So then they've designated priorities to all of these different statuses as well. You've got the P1s and the P2s to allow for funding so that Catholic Charities can help them once they get here, or whatever resettlement agency. So it's a very tiered and layered approach. It really does need a one-on-one sit down to come up with a plan and figure out what is best for that person and that family with the status that they have. And just having a broad understanding that more likely than not, they probably have some type of legal entry and they just need to be able to move forward in order to kind of set up their family, whether it's green card in a year or so, which is what would happen with the refugee status, or if it's naturalization in that kind of 5-year range. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. Thank you for just being here. A lot of these questions are, how can we engage? You've step one. You showed up. So I appreciate that very much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Desiree? You may get off easy. You did it thorough. Thank you very much. Dan?
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Dan Florin, CEO of Catholic Charities. First, to the woman in the back that we did not call back, I just want to apologize for that. You deserve better than that, all right? So thank you for for sharing that feedback. And even though it may not be our responsibility 5, 10 years to help people, it really is. And common courtesy is to call you back. So I apologize for that on behalf of the team. Over the past 100 years, our agency has been serving our most vulnerable neighbors in the 14 counties of Fort Wayne, South Bend area, and Northeast Indiana. Our Refugee Services Program operates under the Migration and Refugee Services Department within the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, which is the largest refugee resettlement agency in the world. For over 40 years, the traditional refugee resettlement program has proven to be a safe, orderly, humane, and legal system of refugee resettlement. In this fiscal year alone, we will welcome up to 250 new refugee neighbors to the Fort Wayne community. On January 19th, the Department of State launched the Welcome Corps, fulfilling President Biden's directive in his executive order on rebuilding and enhancing programs to resettle refugees, to leverage private sponsorship, to increase domestic resettlement capacity, and enable everyday Americans to make a meaningful contribution to welcoming refugees in their own communities. Today, we are grateful to have with us Elizabeth Frank from Community Sponsorship Hub, which is the lead organization in the Welcome Corps Consortium. Beth brings nearly 20 years of experience in global and domestic migration, including refugee resettlement, processing, community development, and emergency response, and studied migration and development as part of her master's degree. Beth joined the Community Sponsorship Hub in 2021 and is currently serving as the director for the Welcome Corps. Beth will give a brief presentation, which will be followed by Q&A. So Beth, we're going to switch so that everybody can see you. You can only see me, unfortunately. You can't see the room. Beth, first, I know how busy you are. You must be incredibly busy. And on behalf of everybody in the room, there's maybe 80 people or so in the room, I want to thank you for joining us today over Zoom. And we will turn it over to you for your presentation.
Great. Well, thank you. And thank you, everyone, for the opportunity to speak with all of you today about the Welcome Corps. I'm going to share my screen that has some information that I'll be sharing out today. As you said, my name is Elizabeth Frank, and I'm with the Community Sponsorship Hub, which is one of the organizations and the leading organization of the Welcome Corps Consortium, and I'll share a bit more about the consortium members in a moment. So this is a program that is a new opportunity for community members to directly engage in refugee resettlement through private sponsorship. And it builds on traditions within communities of engaging with resettlement, and it offers a new opportunity, a new way for community members to really have that central role in this process. This is a public-private partnership. It's a program of the Department of State, Bureau of Population, Refugees and Migration, or PRM, and it's implemented through a consortium of organizations that have experience and expertise in refugee protection, refugee resettlement, and welcoming in other capacities as well. So you see here the list of organizations that are part of the consortium. The Community Sponsorship Hub, or CSH, where I'm at, is the leading and coordinating organization. And each of the other organizations that you see here, Church World Service, International Rescue Committee, IREP, or International Refugee Assistance Project, IRIS, Integrated Refugee and Immigration Services, and Welcome.us are all key organizations that are leading various aspects of this program, of the design and implementation. And so there are two phases of the program. We're currently in phase 1, which is matching. And so at this time, the program has launched, and Welcome Corps is accepting applications from sponsors that will be matched with refugees that they do not already have a connection with. And so this is really an incredible opportunity for communities to engage with this and directly welcome refugees in this new way. And this is what we're focused on at the moment. However, later this year, in mid-2023, the Welcome Corps will expand and roll out with a second phase of the program, identification. So in this phase will allow private sponsors to identify a specific refugee, individual, or family and refer them to the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program, or USRAP, for consideration to be resettled to the U.S. So for phase 2, program criteria will be established by the U.S. government, by the State Department, and there will be information on the Welcome Corps website as the State Department announces and releases that information and the specific criteria in the coming months for phase 2. All refugees referred to USRAP, whether part of Welcome Corps or other traditional resettlement, they are included as part of, they need to complete the same processing requirements as all U.S. RAP applicants in order to be approved for resettlement. So this includes determination of eligibility for refugee status through an interview by USCIS, security vetting by the U.S. government, and medical screening. So again, this is Welcome Corps is part of that U.S. RAP program. A key aspect of the Welcome Corps are private sponsored groups. And so these are groups of at least 5 community members, 5 adults that live in or very near the same community. And this is the core group that will be sponsoring the refugee newcomers. They commit to 90 days, an initial sponsorship period of 90 days where they provide core sponsorship services. They also raise funds for each refugee that they will sponsor. So $2,375 for each refugee that they will sponsor. They also commit to completing reports and surveys that provide information on the services and supports they've provided, some of the challenges and successes they've seen, feedback about the program, etc. There's an application process for private sponsor groups, or PSGs. Potential sponsors can apply directly on the Welcome Corps website. There's an application portal on that site. As part of that, the sponsor groups need to demonstrate that they meet those core requirements, which you see here. So each member needs to complete a background check. The process to do that is available on the website. We strongly encourage that each sponsored group member completes an online training that's available, and we require that at least one member uploads a training certificate that shows that they completed that training. Each sponsored group completes a welcome plan. This is a detailed planning tool where sponsored groups together research within their community what resources are available, the processes that they will need to go through as part of sponsorship, where they plan out how they will directly support the refugee or refugee families that they are planning to receive. That's also part of the application process. Also as part of this is a commitment that each sponsored group member makes to the code of conduct and to provide those core services. One of the supports available for potential sponsors are information sessions and application support sessions. We have recordings, and we also have opportunities for people to sign up for a live session. So information on that, again, is available on the website. And I'll put the website in the chat and share that out for everyone if helpful. So you see here the list of core private sponsorship services. For anyone familiar with resettlement, this should be a very familiar list. So these services that the private sponsor groups will be providing are similar to the reception and placement program services that resettlement agencies provide for refugees. So this is everything from reception at the airport to receiving the family at the airport and bringing them to their initial housing, enrolling children in school, supporting the family to access critical benefits and public benefits, supporting the family to identify and secure permanent housing, as well as the other things that you see on this list. So once a sponsored group submits their application, they go through a vetting process. And so there's a team at Community Sponsorship called that application screening team that completes that vetting. The team is looking to ensure that the sponsored group has met all of those basic criteria. For example, that everyone has completed the background checks, and the screening team then looks in detail at the welcome plan to review if the group has prepared adequately, if they have provided enough information and thoughts to ensure that they will be able to support on those core services. And the application screening team will communicate back with the sponsor group about additional information or resources or research that they might need to do within their community in order for them to be prepared to support and welcome refugee newcomers. So once that application is thoroughly reviewed, if it's determined that the sponsored group is able to meet those core sponsorship responsibilities, then the group will be certified. Once a group is certified, then they will be able to be matched with a refugee newcomer or family. There are several supports for sponsors throughout this process, including at the point of the but all the way through that initial sponsorship period. So I already mentioned the application support sessions. For potential sponsors that that go to those sessions, there are also follow-up office hours where one of the consortium members, Iris, is providing direct technical assistance to help sponsor groups think about that application process, that welcome plan, and really help them to think about how do they prepare that, what type of research do they need to do, etc. We are also developing a suite of resources. Another partner, the Refugee Welcome Collective, which is part of Church World Service, they are leading in this. And so they are providing resources, supplemental trainings, reference guides, checklists, things like that, as well as an app that PSGs can use to track and coordinate their activities within their sponsored group. Another key resource for PBSGs are private sponsor organizations. So these are organizations that will work directly with a private sponsor group, will provide one-on-one support to help them navigate those sponsorship processes and that sponsorship journey. We also think about refugee supports and how to ensure that refugees that are arriving are centered in that sponsorship and that they are also empowered and able to make decisions about their own resettlement experience. So some of the resources that are developed for sponsor groups are actually developed for sponsor groups and refugees to use together. So they can think about and plan for that sponsorship experience throughout that initial sponsorship period. We are also working with other partners, with some external partners to identify and ensure resources that are available to refugees are relevant for the Welcome Corps. So for example, we're working with CORE on cultural orientation materials to ensure that those materials that refugees have access to are appropriate, they're relevant for the Welcome Corps, and making some adaptations or developing some new resources potentially over time to ensure that. Refugees coming through the Welcome Corps are eligible for mainstream benefits and ORR funded benefits that other refugees coming through U.S. TRAP are eligible for. And we're working closely with our partners at PRM and ORR, Office of Refugee Resettlement, to ensure that there are processes in place and that sponsor groups have the information they need to help ensure that refugees are accessing those services and benefits. We also have a concerns line for refugees to directly access to report complaints or a concern that they have about the services they've received, etc. One of the supports that I mentioned were private sponsor organizations. These are nonprofit organizations that are agreeing to support and oversee sponsor groups specifically as a part of this program. So PSOs, or private sponsor organizations, agree to support and provide oversight to PSGs throughout the year. They, to become a PSO, organizations apply and they need to demonstrate financial health as well as organizational capacity to be able to effectively carry out the responsibilities of a PSO. Once an organization applies, if they are deemed eligible to become a PSO, they will sign a memorandum of understanding and go through a series of onboarding sessions to become a fully accredited PSO. So the key responsibilities of PSOs are here, they're listed here. So it includes recruiting, providing support in the application and preparation period for sponsor groups, also providing support and mentorship and guidance to PSGs after refugees arrive, providing oversight of those PSGs through ensuring that sponsor groups are submitting reports, reviewing those reports, working with the groups on any issues or challenges or concerns that might be raised through those reports or otherwise in the other interaction that sponsor organizations have with the PSGs. Also intervene on issues of concern. If an issue of concern is raised, then they also work with CSH, and we in turn work with our government partners, really to ensure that those core sponsorship services and the well-being and safety of the refugees are centered with this the whole time. I also just wanted to note, for this group it might be relevant, that we're really thinking about the supports for sponsor groups as multi-leveled and that oversight as well. So PSGs, private sponsor groups, are directly doing the work, directly supporting and engaging with refugees to carry out those core sponsorship services. And then PSOs are providing that first level of oversight and support. They're in frequent conversation or frequent communication with the private sponsor groups, particularly at the start of sponsorship, but throughout that entire sponsorship period. They're ensuring those core sponsorship services are clear, are understood, and are being carried out. And if there are challenges or if there are challenges in carrying out those sponsorship responsibilities, then they are working closely with the PSG to ensure that they can do that, or ensure that there are other means to provide that support to refugees as needed. And then Community Sponsorship Hub is providing oversight to and support to those private sponsor organizations. So Community Sponsorship Hub provides that second level of support and oversight for PSGs and refugees, along with other consortium partners that are developing resources and supports in various ways. And so within the system, we have these different levels of support and, and resources to ensure that PSGs really have what they need to carry out those core responsibilities. For private sponsor organizations, we have also built in supports to the system, so access to resource materials and tools for those organizations. We are developing a network of private sponsor organizations through our council. So we're just now opening up the application period for organizations to become a private sponsor organization. And as we bring PSOs on, we will be developing that council and also be developing key PSOs for particular states so that they can engage more deeply with stakeholders within that state, such as state refugee coordinators, state refugee health coordinators, etc. So for organizations interested in becoming a PSO, you see some information up here. Again, I'll share the website in the chat and can share it out afterwards for those that would be interested in more information about the Welcome Corps more generally. And for organizations that are interested in becoming a PSO, there's a process to do an initial orientation, to start that application process, and then to go through the onboarding to become fully accredited. So I'm going to leave it there. That was pretty brief, but I know there might be some questions, so wanted to leave some time for questions.
Excellent. Beth, that was wonderful. We're running a little bit long, but I do want to give the audience a chance to ask Beth maybe a couple of questions. And okay, so here we go. Please.
So we've talked about the PSO. My question is, who funds the PSO? So the PSGs are raising their money, and the PSO, who's paying them to provide all of those services?
So
Yeah.
Beth, the question was essentially who funds the PSOs? You know, the PSGs will do their own fundraising. The question is, where does the funding for PSOs come from?
Yeah, great question. There are organizations that have indicated they are interested, and we know there's others that may be interested moving forward as well. One of the things that we are looking at as the consortium are potential private funding that would be available to private sponsor organizations as part of this. So within the next, I believe within the next month or so, we should have more information about that. Again, there will be information on the website about that because we know that that's a key question, and the question of resourcing PSOs is certainly one that we are considering. In talking with other stakeholders, we're also thinking about what might be some other resources that are available that would be available to private sponsor organizations. But you know, at this point, we're looking at private philanthropy as potentially providing some of those resources. So yeah, you know, and I think if for those in the group today, if people have thoughts on where funding could, you know, where those resources might be identified, what are some creative ways to mobilize those resources, you know, would be happy to hear some of those suggestions.
Great, thank you. So question back here.
Yes. Are any of the three organizations that are sponsoring this particular seminar part of the PSOs?
So Beth, the question was whether any of the three organizations that are here are PSOs. And I would say that each of our organizations are evaluating whether we have the capacity to be a private sponsor organization, because importantly, the Welcome Corps is additive to the traditional refugee resettlement program. So in other words, I mentioned at Catholic Charities, we will be welcoming up to 250 refugees in the traditional program. And if we were to add on being a PSO, that would be an additional 50 PSGs that we'd be responsible for. So we're evaluating the pros and cons for Catholic Charities. I can't speak for the other agencies, but it's definitely something that we're considering. Maybe time for one more question. Over on the side here.
Thank you, first of all, to all the organizations that sponsored this. This has been very informative. Our situation is that we actually have a family that we're intimately involved with in Haiti, which is one of the countries with this new program that we understand that started up in January. How do we go about trying to bring that particular family? And it sounds like this is a kind of a double-blind process with matching with a family.
So Beth, the question was that there's a gentleman here who's been involved in supporting a family from Haiti, and whether that family would qualify or could they become part of Welcome Corps. And I think this raises some of the complexity that's in the system. And so maybe Beth, I might frame this so that this could be something you could address. So in addition to the Welcome Corps, the administration has expanded the humanitarian parolee program, of which Haiti, Cuba, Venezuela, and Nicaragua are a part of. And so they're coming in as asylees. The Welcome Corps is a supplemental refugee resettlement program. So Beth, maybe if you could just speak to that broader issue of how to, at the community level, how do we navigate Welcome Corps with some of the other expanded parolee programs?
Yeah, great question. And this also speaks to that phase 2 that I was talking about, the identification phase. We will have more information up about that in the coming months. As I mentioned, the State Department is establishing what those criteria are, what that process will be. And so some of that information, much of that information is still forthcoming. As soon as we have that, then we will be posting that on the website. There's also on the website, there's an opportunity for anyone to sign up for updates on the program. So that's another way that you can be informed about that once we have more information about that. So once that process opens up, it will be more clear in terms of how sponsor groups can identify an individual refugee or refugee family for the Welcome Corps. One of the distinctions is that this is through Refugee Resettlement, the U.S. Refugee Admissions Program. So they would be entering the U.S. with refugee status. This is different than some of the humanitarian parole programs that are currently active, where individuals are entering under a different status. So that's one distinction. And who qualifies for refugee status and what that refugee status part of the process for the Welcome Corps is, and this will be part of phase 2 as well, is the same processing that refugees that arrive through refugee resettlements. Currently, it's that same process. So determining eligibility, determining refugee status, for the U.S., and again, going through some of that other vetting, so background checks, medical screening, et cetera. I don't know if that answered the question exactly, but we will have more information on the process, posted on the website.
Great. Beth, just in 30 seconds, can you just comment, has this model been used elsewhere around the world?
Yes, great question. And so the Welcome Corps is informed by other examples of private sponsorship. In some ways, it's similar to Canada's model of private sponsorship, so a group of 5 approach, but it's also unique. And so as this program was designed and launched, it did also pull from other sponsorship initiatives, that's some of the organizations, I'm not sure, that might have been part of in the U.S. in previous years. In some ways, it's similar to co-sponsorship in terms of that group approach. But again, in this case, for Welcome Corps, it's the private sponsor groups that are taking on that full responsibility for resettlement and directly taking on those core all of those core services. So it is building from those other examples, but also is unique to the context of the U.S. of where we are today.
Wonderful. Beth, thank you so much for your time. Please, round of applause for Beth Finnick, please.
Thank you so much. Again, really appreciate having the time to speak with you all today.
Okay, so next we have our panel.
Hello, I'm Ann Hain. I am the Executive Director at International House. It is really wonderful today to see so many of you here that are coming alongside of us to listen and learn how to welcome refugees well. It's my pleasure to get to introduce the panel today. It's also been my pleasure to work alongside of these fine people for many years and to learn from them and to journey with them in the refugee resettlement that we've all been part of. They have a combined experience of over 50 years serving the refugee and immigrant population. We're going to start. You can clap for them. That's great. We're going to start with each person sharing a little bit about what their organization does. And then at the end, when they're finished, we will gladly accept some questions from you. So we're going to start with Natalie Boris. She is the Community Development Coordinator at Amani Family Services. She has over 12 years combined experience in working with immigrants and refugees through either Catholic Charities and Amani Family Services. Her experience has led her as a medical and mental health interpreter, case manager, outreach and program coordinator, as well as cultural competency trainer. Welcome, Natalie.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Like someone else said, thank you for taking the first step. So I want to let you know about Amani Family Services. Amani Family Services is, if this works, there we go, is a local non-for-profit who solely serves immigrants and refugees. We have served nearly 2,000 immigrants and refugees, and we do that annually. We originally, in our inception in 2006, we were crime victim care. However, throughout time, and as we have evolved, and as the needs of our immigrant and refugee populations have evolved, we've evolved into Amani Family Services. Amani in Swahili means peace, and in Arabic, wishes. Our mission at Amani is we partner with immigrant and refugee families and the community to promote safety, encourage personal growth, and foster a spirit of belonging. Amani's programs and services, what we do at Amani is we provide clinical services through therapeutic and case management support. The programs that we offer are programs such as family support. Family support is a wonderful program that we serve families with kiddos under the age of 18. And that is through SCAN programming. It's a partnership that we have. And families are supported through case management, through caseworkers, assisting them with basic needs. It is a very intensive program, 6 months worth. Again, the case manager is in the home, assisting with goals and resources. Victim care is the heartbeat of Amani. We have victim advocates, Burmese and Spanish speakers, who will go in and assist with our immigrant and refugee families and individuals who are facing some sort of victimization. It's a scary process, even for some mainstream individuals, having to go through domestic violence or go through discrimination in the workforce or possibly with their landlord in housing. Again, maybe there's domestic violence. Our advocates do a wonderful job of accompanying these individuals and families to court hearings, not necessarily providing legal advice, but providing a shoulder support through the process. Our advocates are amazing at what they do in providing that advocacy support and making sure that their voices are heard, that their voices are understood, and that they leave the room feeling comforted and they leave the room feeling empowered. Community support, that is a program that offers substance abuse. Most of these referrals that we receive are court-ordered. However, anyone in the community who's an immigrant or refugee is welcome to enroll in these services. It is the only program that we offer that we charge for, and that's $20 for each session. We also see the importance of, again, therapeutic support, so community counseling. We provide home-based counseling for individuals and families. That could be kiddos as well. It's a beautiful thing to see our amazing therapeutic team. We have an amazing team that is very culturally sensitive and aware, and they go into the homes and assist with that counseling, whether it's individual, family, or as a group. Some of the community counseling support groups that we've offered are like bicultural support groups for those teenagers who are still trying to adapt to, Western world, Western civilization, and yet their own culture and their own upbringing. We also offer family violence prevention. At Amani, we believe there's no wrong door for an immigrant or refugee who comes to Amani. We want them to feel that Amani is the right place for them, where they're going to at least receive some sort of assistance, some sort of direction, some sort of assistance, whether that's through our internal programming or whether that's through a community partner. And within our family violence prevention, that also offers case management support, and that's a short-term case management support, 4 months worth. We, again, have an amazing team, community liaisons who speak Spanish and Burmese, who will provide resources, navigation, connection. Maybe some of these things could be, as Catholic Charities does an amazing job with the resettlement process, but as time goes on, there may be needs, right? Life happens, and there might be a gap in insurance coverage, or maybe there's challenges within the school system. Maybe someone needs assistance with, medical care. Maybe they don't have enough, finances to be able to pay for a high medical bill. Matthew 25, if you're in the room today, we were with you earlier this morning doing cultural competency training, and we learned about your services, and we learned how that a lot of our refugee families can connect to services like that in the community, where maybe they can't afford higher other places, right, other expenses, but they can go to a partner like Matthew 25 and receive assistance. I mentioned cultural competency because that's next on our programming. We feel at Amani that it is our job to help to make Fort Wayne welcoming, to make organizations more welcoming. And how do we do that? We do that by understanding. We do that by hearing stories like So Manu. We do that by collaborating and doing life with one another. And since Amani does that on the daily basis, we have an amazing team who will provide cultural competency training to organizations, school systems, medical facilities, you name it. We want to provide cultural competency training presentations. Here you go. You can see a few of the trainings that we do. How to work effectively with a medical interpreter. That's one that we did at Matthew 25 this morning. Understanding Burmese and Hispanic culture and Muslim culture. These are just a few of the trainings that we offer. We would love to be able to connect with you to tailor these trainings to your organization's needs. We understand that everyone has different needs, and we would love to be able to come in and assist you with that. Amani's impact in 2022. Amani Family Services served about 1,969 individuals throughout 6 program areas, and those are the programs that I just mentioned. Clients came from 34 countries, speaking 16 different languages. That's here in Fort Wayne. This is home. Amani engaged 26,382 people in our community through outreach events, education opportunities, and special events. We also noticed in 2022 that our impact was 46% of our clients served were children. 34% were children under the age of 12. 60% of families served live in the 06 and the 16. 78% of clients live in very low to extremely low income households. And we also noticed that our top 5 countries that Amani clients originate from are 28% are first generation US children. 21% are from Burma and Myanmar, or however you want to use that phrase, or the country. 13% are Guatemala, 11% Mexico, and 7% Thailand. How do you connect to Amani? So as you're in the room, as private citizens, maybe organizations representing here today, I would like you to think through the people that you're meeting with every day, specifically those in the immigrant and refugee populations. If you're seeing that someone is just needing a bit of assistance, maybe with that case management support, maybe a lot of assistance, right? And they have children in the household, and they really just, again, just need a leg up. We would love you to make a referral, and that is by going to our website at amanifamilyservices.org. On the homepage there, you'll see a button that says Make a Referral. You'd click on that. It generates an open application where you fill that out. It comes immediately, actually, to me, and from there we go ahead and we do phone screenings, and we best determine whether that family, that individual can receive assistance through internal programs at Amani or through, again, one of our amazing partners, someone like Catholic Charities like Ninchan. So again, we would love for you to connect with us by going to our website, give us a call. We would love for, again, we'll talk more about this, but volunteer help, donation help, a lot, just support. So we'd love to have that conversation. Thank you.
And thank you so much. Next, we'd like to introduce Nhan Chan. He is a former refugee from Burma. He has experienced being a displaced person and an immigrant himself. He began his career with Catholic Charities in 2000. He is now the director of Refugee Resettlement Services. Nhan really enjoys helping individuals and families and watching them grow over time in the community. He holds a master's degree in organizational leadership and serves on local boards and task force. Thank you, Nhan.
Thank you, Anne. I feel a little small sitting between two great organizations. Amani and the International House, they have done so much. Believe me, I've been with them for years. They have done a great job. So let me let you know about a little bit about the Catholic Charity before I just share about the Refugee Resettlement Program. So Catholic Charity has been in this community for a little bit over 100 years already. We established in 1922. So currently we serve 14 different counties. The CEO Dan already mentioned about that. And then every year we serve close to the 20,000 individuals moving their life one place to another. We speak 18 different languages. I believe we add 2 more. Recently we hired the case manager from the Afghans, another case manager from the Ukrainians. So we have about 20 plus services. So like Anne introduced, and this is my privilege of working for the Catholic Charity. I've been working with more than 22 years already. I was resettlement in the Catholic Charity, now an organization I'm working with for many years. Here's a little bit about the history of the Refugee Resettlement Program. We've been started resettling refugees since 1975, soon after the South Vietnam falling. So many of the Vietnamese are resettling in that year, so Catholic Charity participated in the Federal Refugee Resettlement Program. Since then, we had experience with more than 20 different countries from all around the world. They are welcome to the Fort Wayne, city of Fort Wayne. So at this time, we're the only one resettlement agency in the Northern Indiana federally approved to resettle the refugee in the area. Every year, we resettle about somewhere between 150 to 200 refugees. This year, of course, we expected to see up to 200 refugees this year alone. So every day, the refugee resettlement staff, they are busy with preparing for everything prior to their arrival. So that is about the refugee resettlement program today. So when you come to visit refugee department, so let me know. You will see the different kind of food. Most are spicy. So very diverse staff we are working with. So it is a great thing to have the staff member from the different country. Sometimes we do the monthly staff meeting. So people brought their own ethnic food, and it's great taste. Thank you. So you are welcome to stop by if you want to. So you are invited as well.
As long as you have samosas.
Of course, samosa is a favorite food. So yes, I just want to be stepping into a little bit detail about the refugee resettlement service. Of course, the previous slide, the Beth mentioned about starting from the airport research. Actually, we started with 2 weeks prior to the airport research. Most of the staff, they're busy with housing setup. It's a lot thing. Every month, we set a house, 4 to 5 houses prior to their arrival. Making sure everything supplying checklist created by the federal government, we had to have everything in the house prior to their arrival date, including can opener. Everything you had to have. We had to making sure the federal government, they always make the site visit. They open the drawer. If they don't see the can opener, they put the note, hey, we don't see the can opener. So that is the thing prior to the 2 weeks. Refugee, before they come into the Fort Wayne, Indiana resettlement agency, we've been notifying 2 different arrivals, international arrival and the domestic arrival. As soon as domestic arrival, including information, what flight and at what time they were coming to the Fort Wayne. Especially in the winter time, many of the refugees, they miss transition. They start in the Chicago, then they're booking different flight. Refugee service case manager, they start another 2 more years in the airport. That is, we had to buy the ethnic, culturally appropriate food, seasonal clothing prior to their arrival date. We met them at the airport. Most of the refugees come from Asia. They arrive 10:30. If they delay another 2 hours, we're going to be stopped there another 2 hours in the airport. The day they arrive, they're starving. Most of the refugees, they don't speak language. Can you imagine that when you're sitting in the airplane, flight attendant is pushing the food cart. Refugees are boarding their head. What do you want? They don't know how to speak. They don't know what to ask for. They might going to be asked Coke and Pepsi. That's all they want. So then they arrive in the Fort Wayne. We had to making sure ready to eat meal, working with their family member already live in Fort Wayne. If not, we had to making sure resettlement agency ready to eat meal. We take them to the apartment or house, showing them this is hot water, this is cold water, this is smoking lamp, this is how to turn on, turn off, starting from that point. This is we call the first phase or the priority arrival. Then refugees on the arrival, and then after the arrival, refugees came along with very limited belonging in their bags. Starting from that point, where the agency applying or starting from the Social Security, public assistance, school enrollment, ESL, job training, cultural orientation. You already see the list Beth showing to that. These are happening within the first month or from the arrival date. This is the second phase. 1 to the 3 months, almost all refugees, they had actually 5 doctor appointment, minimum appointment. Then they move on to the third phase, self-sufficiency and integration. That is the first question I've been happy to respond. This is very important. The government wants us to making sure all the refugees resettled into our community, becoming economically self-sufficiency as soon as after their arrival in the United States. 2 months, we started offering cultural orientation 8-hour training. We offer employment job readiness, making sure, regardless of their language, English language level, We're making sure most of the employable adult refugees engage employment within 4 to 6 months from their arrival date. Because of local family and social service supporting system, SNAP program, Medicaid, and the monetary assistance are very limited. Only the engaging employment the refugee can able to support their family. We have about 86% success rate. Most of the adult refugees, they engage employment within 4 to 6 months. We have working with 15 local employers, very good relationship. They like to hire the client because the refugees are very good work ethic. They never say no to the overtime. So even on their holiday season. So most of the employers, they're happy to hire our client. Yay, great. Then they became financially self-sufficient. Of course, we have no worry about the enrolling children to the school within 30 days from their arrival day. They just became American quickly. After 6 months, they just start speaking English. Parents said, speak Burmese. No, they just speak English. They want to speak English. But we worry about the adult refugees. They left behind. The integration process is getting slow. They want to live within their community. They want to drive together to where they work. They come back, spend together, and over the weekend. Their English learning skill getting slower. Their cultural integration getting slower. So that's now we are being pushing more time, focusing on the long-term integration in their receiving community. For instance, recently we had the MOU with the YMCA. All of the newly arrived refugees, they got free treatment trial. We got the IPIW school enrollment continuable. Now cultural orientation along with the organization, we focus on their successful integration in the long-term process. I would happy to answer, so I'm gonna be cutting on my time. Thank you.
Thank you so much. There's a lot of good work and exciting things to share. We all have so much we want to share with you, but you don't have all night to be here. We understand that. Lastly, I would like to introduce a dear friend of mine, Heather Morris. She is the Operation and Outreach Director at International House. Heather began working cross-culturally in 2002 with medical mission trips and came on staff at International House in 2016. She is currently certified in classical trauma healing for adults and children, and she is also part of the Family Justice Task Force organized by Amani.
Well, first off, I just want to share a little fact with you. There are so many people on the move right now in the world that if we gathered all of the refugees currently and placed them all in one country that was just their own, it would be the 17th largest country in the world. Just to give you an idea of how many people right now are on the move and without feeling a sense of home and safety. But International House is a nonprofit, non-denominational Christian organization that's committed to sharing the love that was modeled by Jesus to the refugees and immigrants who come to the Fort Wayne area. We do this by developing and maintaining services that provide regular ongoing contact, and our hope is that through that ongoing contact we can develop genuine long-term relationships with the people that we're in relationship with. iHouse unofficially started in the late 1990s with our founder, Brendan Neuenschwander, teaching English to a Bosnian refugee in the Fort Wayne area. And we've been welcoming the many nations that are in our area, as you've heard from my friends here, who've been come to Fort Wayne ever since then, and we officially incorporated it in 2004. iHouse was founded with the heart to fully embrace both the international and the refugee. But how we do that looks different for each individual person. When we meet someone new to the United States, we see a person and not a project. And we use our available programming and volunteer base to meet their needs, both physical and emotional. Something that we all have in common is the desire to be seen, to be heard, and to be known. And at iHouse, our programs are designed to ensure that innate desire is met. Some of our current program offerings include English classes, both at our main location as well as several area churches, and most recently at the Bluffton Library, at varying days and times during the week, and homework help for children. We have trauma healing groups, hangout time for men in our man cave garage, citizenship classes, and in-home tutoring that takes place at various times all over the city, thanks to our wonderful volunteer base, who is right at about 200. We have an amazing army of volunteers. One of the highlights each summer is our kids camp that is open to all the families that we're in relationship with who have children in 3rd through 8th grade. Each week-long camp includes a day full of activities like swimming, story time, games, crafts, food and snacks, and we provide transportation for these children as well, because without most of them would not have been able to attend. Looking back to the past year, International House has had a men's group that met with Afghans in our man cave garage to learn word-booking skills. We had at least a dozen people pass their citizenship examination. We hosted an average of 70 kids for each week of our kids camp. We held a trauma healing event for a group of teenage girls whose parents were refugees. And we hauled more loads of furniture and supplies to homes than we could count, as we were privileged to welcome 33 new Afghan families, 4 Ukrainian families, a Venezuelan family, and 7 Haitian families, all the while continuing to meet with the people already engaged in our programming from more than dozens of other countries. What is impossible for us to calculate is the number of hours that our staff and volunteers have spent in the homes of our refugee friends. You see, when iHouse enters in, our hope is that we are there for the long term. We're fortunate in that our organization is set up so that our programs don't have start and end dates, so our time is not limited. We have the blessing of being able to enjoy meals with our friends, celebrate holidays, both theirs and ours, sometimes mourn with them over the loss of family members, or even just everything that's familiar that has been lost. But we also get to share in victories, like when they learn to write their name for the first time, or get a driver's license, or move to a home that they get to choose. The challenges that our refugee friends face can be immense, and oftentimes we as Americans overlook. Simple things like, how do you make an appointment when you don't speak English? How do you get to an appointment when you don't have transportation? What do you do with all the mail that you get that you can't read? And then there's tougher questions like, what are taxes and why, where, and how do I file them? It's the weekend and the baby's sick, what do I do? Or the furnace won't work and I can't get a hold of my landlord, how am I gonna keep my family warm for the weekend? These are situations that iHouse helps with on a daily basis, not daily, regular basis. Thankfully, it's not daily, for these people's sake. But we're thankful for the opportunity that we have to be a part of their lives and that we can be there with our refugee friends and help them through challenges like this. As we look to the future, we want to continue to train and position our volunteer base well as we welcome the new people coming to Fort Wayne. Our goal is to move ahead with offering even more English classes and hopefully in satellite locations that will make it more accessible to the people where they're being resettled. We're seeking funding to add another 15-passenger vehicle to our fleet so we can provide more transportation to our programs, because many, that's the only hope they have of being able to attend, and especially for the kids camp. And we are adding to our staff so that we can better attend to the medical and social services needs of our refugee friends. Fort Wayne is a great city that is home to such a rich diversity of people from all over the world. And we feel like it's an honor to be able to partner with our friends here and with our community as we do our best to welcome them well. And if you're wanting to know how to connect with iHouse, you can visit our table outside or visit ihouse.org. Thank you.
If there are any questions, the panel would be happy to answer questions from you.
I would love to know how we can support these organizations.
That's a super question. It was on my card if nobody asked it, so thank you. So each of you would just like to share how anyone today would like to support the work you're doing and how they can get involved with anything.
Sure. I like for as a representative of Amani, I'd like to let you know that there's 3 ways that you can really connect with us and assist with our mission. And again, that's opportunity on our website to give and to give generously, please. And for all the services and the things that we do at Amani, we are completely and totally reliant on grants. And so we would love to be able to have your support financially. Another way is through, our fundraising events, getting involved and maybe, volunteering your time, which is the 3rd way of, possibly helping us out with the events that we champion. Another event or a fundraising event that we have actually coming up is Give Greater Allen County. We would love for you guys to be able to participate in that way. That's coming up on April 20th, so I know that you'll be you can look out for that on our website and through our socials. Thank you.
I told you they done a great job, see? So, of course, the refugee resettlement programs always need the extra hand to support our clients, so especially for the long-term successful integration in the community. So the volunteer needs are very huge, very huge. So just been International House been doing that for a long time. The home visit, the after-school program for children, teaching English for the adult refugee. So the mainly American the receiving community member being friendship with the newcomer population. That is a huge thing. They are learning every day. And we want them to learn in correct way, moving forward. Being with their friends is huge. Thank you.
And I'm just going to piggyback on what Natalie said. Funding is always tough to come by. We're a faith-based organization, so grants are fewer and farther in between for us. We're also going to be part of Give Greater, and we have a fundraising banquet that will come up in September that we would love to see everyone at. But you can go to our website too. There's a button you can click to give there, and we would appreciate the support. Thank you. And also your prayer support, because prayers make a difference.
Are there any other questions?
Hello, this question is for Natalie, and you might have just answered it, but besides the substance use group, do individuals and family need health insurance to participate in any of your programs?
No, not at all. We try to eliminate every barrier. As long as you're an immigrant or refugee, you're going to receive some sort of assistance, and whether from internal programming, again, like I said, or community referral to one of our partners here. I know we partner very well with both organizations, but I know as of late, International House has been one of our greatest champions, and so that's how we partner. But again, all of our internal programming is completely free.
Thank you.
Well, we are going to wrap up now, and thank you all for your for your questions, for listening, and hopefully this is the beginning of your engagement with any of these agencies or supporting any refugee immigrant work through prayer, through financial support, through just showing up where you feel called to do so. We have your email addresses when you registered, and we'll be sure to send you invitations to upcoming sessions and opportunities. And I think we have one to share with you. Maybe not. We will keep you posted. I don't know how to share. Okay. So we will keep you posted of some upcoming opportunities. There will be one in June coming up by Catholic Charities that will, they're controlling it from the back, and I can't do, thank you for your help back there. There will be a program in June on some of the legal pathways for immigrants to get citizenship and work status. That will be a full-day workshop that Catholic Charities is putting on, and we will be sure that all of you get an invitation to that event as well. And again, we are working on having a quarterly meeting, and you'll get that information in the upcoming weeks, as well as a ability to access a recording of this and all the materials that have been shared today. Thank you for joining us.
Production facilities provided by Access Fort Wayne. Learn more under the Explore tab at acpl.info.